Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by just acknowledging my gratitude for meeting on the traditional territory and treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and reaffirm the Ontario Green Party's commitment to the truth and reconciliation process. I also want to just express deep gratitude for my co-sponsor of this particular bill, Bobbi-Ann Brady, the MPP for Haldimand Norfolk. We may not be in the same party, but we work well together. And I think now more than ever, we need politicians who are going to work across party lines to put people before party and to make sure that we work together to tariff-proof our economy and protect the places we love in Ontario, especially the farmland that feeds us. I also want to thank the stakeholders who are with us here today. Mark Reusser from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, and Dave Kranenburg, who is from the National Farmers Union, Ontario. I also want to thank stakeholders who were not able to join us today, but have helped collaborate on this bill and express support for it, including the Ontario Farmland Trust and the Christian Farmers Federation of Ontario. Ontario loses 319 acres of farmland each and every day to things like low-density urban sprawl, aggregate mining, and highways like Highway 413. And I believe that tariff-proofing Ontario's economy starts with protecting the farmland that feeds us and the farmers who grow that food and the 875,000 people who work in the food and farming sector, contributing over $50 billion to Ontario's economy. You know, 1 in 10 people in this province are employed in the food and farming sector supply chain. And so that's why it's so distressing when you see the Premier try to ram through legislation like Bill 5, which could create special economic zones on agricultural land. And when we see other pushes to expand urban boundaries and encroachment onto the farmland that feeds us. And so that's why today I'm proud to stand with MPP Bobbi-Ann Brady and to bring forward a bill that we will introduce later today, that if passed, the Protect Our Food Act is designed to create a food belt. And the bill proposes to do that by creating a task force that would include farmers, agricultural experts, and land use planners to develop recommendations for strong food belt protection to protect our farmland. It would also result in a report that would address such priorities as reducing land speculation, improving soil health, and protecting and enhancing farmland. Now, more than ever, is the time to protect our farmland, support farmers, and grow more food right here in Ontario. Because food security is national security. And without farmland, there are no farms, no food, no future. And that's why I'm so honored and proud to ask Bobbi-Ann Brady to come to the podium, my collaborator on this bill.
Thank you so much, MPP Schreiner, and good morning. Let me start by saying how happy I am to be collaborating with the Green Party on this matter, which is so near and dear to my heart. And to call it a matter is actually an understatement. It's more accurate to call it a passion as well as a necessity. This legislation is close to my heart because I represent Haldimand Norfolk, which is a significant agricultural region in Ontario, known for its diverse crop production and livestock farming. Both Haldimand and Norfolk counties are home to numerous farm families who not only contribute significantly to the local economies, but the Canadian economy. This holds true for every agricultural region in this province. And as you just heard from MPP Schreiner, Ontario is losing 319 plus acres of farmland each and every day. And we all know we can't make more land. So that we can feed ourselves, we must cease this constant subtraction of arable land. This legislation will help prevent further land degradation, and protect farmland and arable land for future Ontarians and Canadians, all while respecting farmers who want to create succession plans and reinvest in their farms. The loss of 319 acres of farmland each day equates to the loss of 9 family farms each week. 319 acres can produce more than 23.5 million apples, 1.2 million bottles of Ontario VQA wine, or 37.1 million strawberries. And as we know, Ontario agriculture and food annually contributes $50 billion to the province's economy and employs almost 1 million Ontarians. If we don't protect our food-producing land, we will send shockwaves across our economy with the loss of STEM, labor, technological jobs, and even damage our rural main streets. Who can forget the supply chain issues Ontarians experienced during the pandemic? I shudder to think we would do anything further to harm our domestic supply chain and local food production. We can't afford to do this to ourselves or to future generations. We have seen the response from governments when it comes to manufacturing as it stares down the threats from the South. It's time we do the same for agriculture, and this piece of legislation would be the best place to start. Let's all work together to protect our food supply and our farm families. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mark Reusser. I'm here representing the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. And I'd like to begin by saying this. OFA is so appreciative of the fact that MPP Schreiner and MPP Brady are working together collaboratively to look after an issue that is dear to our hearts, and it's the reason for our being at the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. Your proposed bill complements our policy very well. And I'd like to say a few words about agriculture in especially southern Ontario. We live in a very special place. This wonderful climate that we have, moderated by 3 Great Lakes, not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, not too dry. It's an incredibly special place with all kinds of soils. We can grow a longer list of fruits, vegetables, grains, and livestock than anywhere else in North America, with the exception of California, which depends on its water for somewhere else. Agricultural land, our soils are a strategic resource that can't be made when you destroy it. And I just like to say again, on behalf of OFA, thank you so much for seeing this as an important issue, and we need to save this precious resource, which is our soils here in southwestern Ontario.
Hi, my name is Dave Kranenburg, and I'm here representing the National Farmers Union of Ontario. And I'd like to thank both MPs as well for your collaborative work on this. It's vitally needed. The NFUO is ecstatic to see this legislation proposed and to protect farmland. I know as I was leaving my farm this morning after planting in the front field and planting trees, one of the things that I'm constantly curious about and concerned about is whether or not these trees that are being planted, are they going to be there in 20 years? Do I have to worry about the development encroaching on this farmland? We're investing a lot of our time, our energy, our resources into protecting the soil, the water around us, and to grow food for our neighbors. And I want to know that it's going to be there in 20 years, that the hard work today is going to see fruition, not just in the fall, but 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And so to protect this farmland today is just, would be wonderful to see. And so on behalf of the NFUO, thank you both. Cheers.
So I want to thank you all for joining us today. And I just want to say to anybody who eats in Ontario, and I believe most of us eat at least 3 times a day, sometimes I eat more than that, we couldn't do it without Ontario farmers. And Ontario farmers could not do that without the farmland that they work so hard to care for. And so I just want to say to my fellow Ontarians, this bill is so vitally important to stop the loss of 319 acres of farmland each and every day, because we all have to eat each and every day. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Does Trump's tariffs and Ontario's need to have a sustainable standalone economy, Does that make this even more important? And why doesn't Ford see that?
I think it absolutely makes it more important. National security is equated to food security. We're not going to defend our sovereignty if we can't feed our people. And the food and farming sector employs over 875,000 people in this province, the largest employment sector in Ontario, contributes over $50 billion to Ontario's economy, and not only feeds Ontarians, but is actually exported to feed people across North America and around the world. And so why the Premier doesn't appreciate the importance of protecting farmland makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I'm hoping that under Trump's tariff threats, that it creates an opportunity for us not only to work across these party and independent lines, but to work across all party lines. Because I know there are members in each caucus in this legislature who recognize the importance of protecting farmland and supporting local farmers.
On another subject, Honda announced today that they're going to suspend any investment for a couple of years on the EV chain, to a supply chain. What do you make of that? Has Ontario made a huge error putting so much money, all our eggs in one basket, so to speak, when it comes to EVs?
Yeah, it was a bit of a gut punch to wake up this morning and to read about Honda delaying their investment in the EV plant and possibly even looking at moving some of their production to the U.S. To me, that once again highlights why it is so important at this moment in time for us all to be working together across party lines to show strength or unity to push back against Trump. The other thing I think it says is that we need to incentivize demand for electric vehicles in Ontario. We know that electric vehicles are high-performance vehicles, and they help people save money. Most studies show people can save up to $5,000 a year, the average driver driving an electric vehicle. But we have to make sure those vehicles are affordable for everyday Ontarians. And one of the ways that we can secure this generational investment that the province has made and that I've supported is to ensure that families, everyday folks, can afford to drive electric vehicles, which is exactly why I would encourage the Premier to restore rebates for new electric vehicles and to bring in rebates for the growing used electric vehicle market so average families can afford to enjoy the cost savings from driving an electric vehicle.
Bobbi-Ann, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say that consumer confidence is extremely low at this point in time. I was speaking to a developer who has paused their development in my hometown, and they said, quite frankly, it's just because nobody's buying, and they have to take a look at what their market is at this point in time, and if they're going to be able to match what the market is kind of dictating. And they said there's just a whole lot of uncertainty, and I would think that it's the same in the car industry, no matter whether we're talking EVs, whether we're talking gas-powered vehicles. The consumer confidence isn't there, and I think MPP Schreiner is correct. We have to work across party lines in order to restore that confidence in the Ontario consumer, and we need to cut red tape, and we got to get out of people's way. That doesn't mean that we stop doing environmental assessments and things like that, but we've got to cut more red tape and let Ontarians kind of go out there in the environment and spend their money confidently, but we got to create the atmosphere to do that first.
We do have a caller on the line. Stand by.
Okay. I grew up with party
Phone
lines.
question from JP and Associate at Hamilton Spectator.
Okay. Yeah,
Good
go
morning. Question for MPP Brady. Bobbi-Ann, I'm wondering. Good morning. I'm wondering how this bill differs from the one you tabled on the same topic 2 years ago, and what you hope the response might be this time, as contrasting what happened 2 years ago from the government.
Sure, very good question. I think the way the bills being proposed were a little more solid in what the committee would look like to look at different land uses in the province. I think that when I introduced my private members bill, there was some concern with respect to what the committee would look like. It's very, very similar. I just think that this bill spells it out a little more clearly. And I was disappointed when I did introduce my private members bill that the government did say, we have all the tools in the toolbox to do what your bill is asking. And at that point in time, I said, well, that's fine. If you have those tools and you don't open the toolbox, it all becomes a moot point. So this really drills it down. I think this is a great piece of legislation, and we look forward to going out in the community and speaking to rural Ontario and drilling it down even in getting the best piece of legislation that this government can't say no to this time.
Thank you.
Add one quick thing, because I voted for Bobbi-Ann's bill, MPP Brady's bill last time. And I think one thing I want to make very clear about the committee, and this was something that was very important to MPP Brady and myself, is that it is clearly a farmer-led committee. It is a committee that clearly states that farmers and agricultural experts will lead this conversation. And I think that is so important when we talk about creating a food belt to protect farmland, is that farmers lead the conversation. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Appreciate the questions, and we'll be introducing the bill later today. Thank you.